Hello, my name is Rachel Gleason, and I'm a member of a spoken word collective that goes into high schools and talks to students and does 12-week poetry workshops and also assemblies. This is a photo of 4 students competing in a poetry slam after one of these 12-week programs. And what I'd like to do today is would like to do an interactive assembly with you that we usually do with them. Unfortunately, that would be too time-consuming, but I do want to walk through with you that process. So what I would normally do, starting off, is I would come right in and I would hand each of you a blank card and a pen, and you would each get one of these, and I would ask you to fill it out and write down your first off-the-hand assumptions about me, stereotypes, snap judgments, and based on the way I'm dressed, the way I talk, any of that before ever getting to know me. And just as Wes O'Donnell talked about in his talk, our brains automatically make these connections, make these assumptions. And so I'd ask you to do that. And this was one student wrote all our names, and just wrote swag. And we were all pretty proud of that because, as you know, swag from a high school student is a pretty high compliment. So I just want to go through and think about really what you would have to say about me on these cards. And since we can't do that exactly, I'm going to go ahead and read some of the things that have been said about us. In addition to having an audience of 15-year-olds at 8 a.m., which is horrifying. The next hardest part about this is reading the handwriting. Mine is usually worse, so that's okay. So this says, hat, blue shirt. A lot of times they don't know our names yet, so they use our clothing to identify us. Hat, blue shirt, lesbian. Dreads, tats, druggie. Writers and rappers, bro. Button-up, tattoo artist. Fancy hat, preacher. And this one, of course, just says thug life. Cool-looking people, go Jesus, say no to drugs, lame, lesbian, old. They can be harsh, blue shirt, lesbian, purple shirt, counselor, Nike sweats, partier, tie-dye and gray shirt, DJ. Button-up, tattoo artist, I got that one a lot, I was wearing the button-up. Gray zip-up, hippie. Fancy hat guy reads newspaper for fun. That was one of my favorites. And another favorite, you guys look like a ska band. Thank you, yeah. Button up, druggie, tattoos, lesbian, fancy hat guy, church guy, but also a druggie. Lime green shoes, smokes weed all day, beanie girl, radio host. So those are just some of the things that we get back, and this exercise is in order to kind of break the ice, get the students laughing, get ourselves laughing at each other and ourselves, and really just get comfortable with one another. And so you may not have written down some of the same things that we've seen up here, but those snap judgments do happen. So after this, we each will then introduce ourselves and tell a little bit of our story, and then share home with them. And we each have very diverse stories, diverse backgrounds, and also diverse styles, poetic styles. So what I would like to do right now is introduce myself and maybe confirm some of your snap judgments or break them. My name is Rachel, and I'm 28 years old. I grew up in Hudsonville, Michigan, and I've been a writer my whole life. I found spoken word poetry at Grand Valley and really found my voice in that there, but I've always been a writer. I grew up in a very small, very conservative, very strict church that was very controlling. I didn't have a sense of self, of who I was. I didn't have a voice. Every decision was laid out for me, which was actually very easy for a long time. I didn't have to think for myself. But I got to the point where I realized I wasn't living honestly. And that's why poetry is so important to me. It's my way of stepping out and being honest and empowering myself with my words, and empowering myself and owning my identity. So one of the things that I have struggled with is my relationship with my mother. We've had ups and downs. We both love each other very much. But some of the most hurtful things that she said to me were things that she said she was saying out of tough love. And this is a tough love poem to my mother. I used to hang from your words like they were monkey bars, stretching across the stars and the handle of the Big Dipper leading me north. But there is no north among the stars that are really so far apart I wouldn't be able to reach the next one anyway, and there is no momentum in the vacuum of the space that is between us, and there used to be negative space between us. I used to live inside of you. And I remember you telling me that I was breech, that I was always elbowing your ribcage and kicking your tailbone, but I was just trying to climb high enough so I could use your heart for my pillow, so I could learn the rhythm of life and create one of my own, and I don't think I've ever understood you as well as I did before the doctors turned me. I remember you telling me how they placed their hands on either side of your swollen abdomen and pushed like you would soon push, forcing me around, jarring me into the correct position, and that set everything in motion. You went into labor the next day, and the doctors laid me on your chest so I could find your heart again, and you whispered my name, and I struggled to open my eyes so I could match the voice I'd been hearing in the dark to your face, experiencing for the first time the coldness of space, joining the race that is not so much a moving forward as it is a slow and steady moving apart. And I don't think I've ever been as close to you as I was when I was a toddler, sitting on your lap and feeling the thump of your heart in the back of my skull as you read to me, the vibration of your words resonating in my own chest and tumbling out like a spinning web, the aesthetic of love. It was always the feeling of your words and not their meaning that I clung to, and I just wanted to please you, but I was different. Unlike my siblings, I lost interest in books. I was bare-chested in the woods where sticks were my swords and rocks were grenades and mud was my war paint. And when I was 8, you told me I was no longer allowed to go shirtless outside. I must have had you terrified. But even 20 years later, all I've ever wanted was validation from you. Not birthday cards with Bible verses and poems that you wrote me, strict stanzas and ABBA rhyme schemes, calling me back to God and to my sacred femininity. You gave me words when all I wanted was for you to just look at me, even if you couldn't celebrate me, to at least really see me instead of clinging to a vision of a future redeemed me. You gave me words and then you took them from me, and I remember coming home to find folded up pages that you'd torn from my diary, and once when I tried to take them back, you told me they were photocopied, that you'd given them to the pastors to read, and all I could do was just scream unintelligibly because you had all of my words to hold against me and I had nothing. No, I'm not sorry for anything. I used to hang from your words like they were monkey bars, stretching across the stars and the handle of the Big Dipper leading me north. But they stopped short, unable to support me, and I went plummeting. You gave me words, but they were worthless. Sometimes I find myself waiting for dementia to settle in, so you will forget my sin, so I can be your baby and lay my head on your heart again and we can just be. And I'll take your hand and lay it on my chest so you can feel the rhythm of my life. And maybe in that place, beyond stars and space, you'll finally be able to really see me and to truly love me completely, unconditionally. So after sharing our stories and some of our struggles, we all of us in this group have different backgrounds. Some of us with mental health, others with like self-harm, domestic abuse, all of that. After we share this part of ourselves, we then hand out these cards, and these have questions on them, and all of this is anonymous. And I want you to think about what you would write on these cards as well. The questions are, what do you wish you had the courage to speak about? What are you currently battling? Who do you need to be there for you right now? We also encourage them just to write down any other fears or struggles they might have. So this person wrote, loving someone who doesn't love themselves, not knowing what to say because deep down you really hate yourself too, seeing your heroes turn into the villains. What do you wish you had the courage to speak about? Mom, what are you currently battling? My own loathsome mind. Who do you need to be there for you right now? Anyone. This one says abuse, rape, anxiety, hurt, confusion, ADD, bullying, taking care of kids that are not mine, no childhood, reality smacked me in the face, I'm alone, scared, and have no one. What do you wish you had the courage to speak about? My life. What are you currently battling? Being homeless. Who do you need to be there for you right now? Someone. Anyone. Something I'm currently battling is being in foster care, not being able to wake up each morning and see my parents, but to wake to a stranger, knowing my childhood is officially over at 17 and I'm forced to be an adult. My dad is a great man and I enjoy spending time with him, but the sad reality is that he is not my dad. My real dad is a terrible, woman-abusing man, and he is complicating my life, but I really should forgive him because he did nothing to me, but he hurt my mom and I can't forgive him for that. I'm dealing with people who have bipolar and having to help deal with it on top of dealing with feeling alone and nobody wants me in my family, and my dad more or less called me a slut after being raped at age 12 and said it was my fault. Out of a group of just over 60 students, we saw 6 that shared of being personally sexually assaulted. We see several that talk about domestic violence, several that talk about self-harm. And we ask, after they share these, that if they related to any card besides their own, and every hand goes up. And I know that I've related to some of these right here. I'm sure some of you can as well, and I'm sure if we did this exercise, every hand would go up. And the message there is you don't know the person is going through next to you. Be kind to them. Be kind. We ask, who do you wish could be there for you right now? And so many of them say, anyone. They're just waiting for someone to ask, for someone to listen. The most important part about giving someone a voice is letting them know that you're listening. And all of this is to encourage awareness, empowerment, and unity. And this isn't just a message for the youth. I think this is a message that we can all take home. That when we open ourselves up and tell our stories and empower ourselves through our words, that doesn't mean you walk up to someone on the street and in poem form be like, this is what I'm struggling with. But when you open yourself up, it allows that person, it not only gives you the opportunity to heal, it gives that person the opportunity to be vulnerable, to open up, and to heal as well. And that was something that Jason earlier in the day taught when he talked about empathy. We walk by and we say, hey, we're fine. And a lot of times we don't have the time to go into it. But I would say take time. Take time to use your words, to find your words, whether you write them down, let those words empower your story, and take ownership of the things that have happened to you. When we shine light on those things, when we talk about them, they're no longer in the dark, and we can use them to help others. Thank you.